Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that's now quite old, is definitely quite collectible, and is becoming increasingly more difficult to find, especially in this mint unopened condition. We are looking at the 1999 release by Hasbro from their Star Wars Episode 1 series of action figures, action vehicles and playsets. And this particular figure we're looking at today is of Padme, as she appeared in Episode 1 on Tatooine when she was watching the pod racing which young Anakin Skywalker was taking part in. And obviously this is all based on Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which is basically an American space opera, written and directed by George Lucas, and it was the prequel to the original Star Wars film, which was released in 1977. All-star cast: you had Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn, Ewan McGregor, who was Obi-Wan Kenobi, Natalie Portman, who played Padme Amidala, young Jake Lloyd, who played Anakin Skywalker. Ian McDiarmid, he reprised his role as the Emperor Palpatine. You had seen him previously in The Empire Strikes Back, as did Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, who played C-3PO and R2-D2 respectively. And of course Frank Oz, who was the puppet master for Yoda, also reprised his role in taking control of the puppet. It was the full film in the Star Wars franchise, and the first film of the prequel trilogy, and the first chronologically chapter of what is now known as the 9-part Skywalker saga. The film ran for a little over 2 hours, I think 134 minutes it ran for. It aired originally May the 16th, 1999, that was the first release date. And the budget for the movie was $115 million, which was a huge amount of money at the time. But at the box office, it took $1.047 billion. And it's set 32 years before the original trilogy, which is before the Galactic Empire was formed. And it was during the era of the Galactic Republic. And the movie follows Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his young apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And they try to protect Padme Amidala of Naboo to resolve an interplanetary trade dispute. And they're joined by the young Anakin Skywalker, who was a slave boy with very, very strong abilities in the Force. And they have to simultaneously contend with the mysterious return of the evil Sith. Okay, so that's a basic of what the film was all about, and obviously the popularity of the film was huge, and it spawned an awful lot of merchandise. Figures was one part of those merchandise, and this particular one we're looking at today is of Padme as she appeared on Tatooine, and this is the card in front of us, and it says Star Wars Episode 1. You can see that image of Darth Maul's face, which became the image of Star Wars Episode 1. And it says, now figures talk through a special reader with a Comm Tech Chip. And you get the Comm Tech Chip with this figure. And it says Padme Naberrie. I don't know what that means, Naberrie. With pod race view screen. Did she? I think she might have been Naberrie because she was the queen, but she had a double that was doubling as a queen. And she dressed up as a slave girl to go with Qui-Gon to find the parts they need to repair the ship. Anyway, it says walking, choking has a small parts not for children under 3, ages 4 and up. And it says collection 1, and you've got the Hasbro logo, the item number and the assortment number at the bottom of the pack. Okay, before we look at the figure, let's spin it around and see what we got printed on the back. Okay, so I've turned the card round, and this is what we got on the back. So it says Star Wars Episode 1. A generation before Star Wars A New Hope, in a galaxy far, far away, an evil force is gaining strength and threatens an entire civilization. 2 courageous Jedi and a young queen and a Gungan outcast, and a slave boy named Anakin band together to save a planet under attack as the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. And it's got Padme Naberrie as handmaiden to the young Queen Amidala of Naboo. Padme Naberrie is a trusted advisor and privy to many important state secrets. Although she wasn't really, she was the Queen really, and she switched places with Naberrie to go out with Qui-Gon to find the parts for the damaged ship. So it says, Padme Naberrie's Comm Tech Chip lines are, "I've been trained in defense, I can take care of myself. You're a funny little boy, how do you know so much? These junk dealers must have a weakness of some kind. The chip interacts with Qui-Gon Jinn and Anakin Skywalker." It says, electronic Comm Tech reader, communications output memory module. And it says, Star Wars action figures will never be the same. Now Star Wars action figures, episode 1 figures have the ability to speak. The Comm Tech chip that comes with each figure and the Comm Tech reader sold separately give you power. Simply touch each figure's Comm Tech chip to the Comm Tech and reader to hear your figures speak. Some will even interact with other figures. Now the Force is with you. And it says Comm Tech reader sold separately. And then at the bottom you've got the Force is with you in all the Star Wars figures. So these are other figures in the line. So you've got the battle droid, Qui-Gon Jinn, Queen Amidala, Darth Maul, Anakin Skywalker, Padme Naberrie, which is what this one is, Jar Jar Binks, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've got Hasbro 10 Jedi Master Points. Back in the day, if you collected those proof of purchases, X amount of points, you would receive a free figure from Hasbro if you sent them away. So anyway, so proof of purchase there with the barcode, and you've got the copyright information, licensing information, and the Star Wars fan club details at the bottom, and it's made in China. Okay, that's the back of the pack. Let's turn it back round to the front now, and let's have a good look at Padme herself. Okay, so I've zoomed right in on the figure there, and I've kept Padme's face on the side there, so you can compare Natalie Portman as she was when she played the part of Padme in episode 1 compared to the actual face of the figure. Now, although it's good and you know it's Padme, it's not quite right. The actual facial features are a little bit off, but then this was 1999, so this was 26 years ago, and obviously the technology has moved on so much since then, and the facial features now on these figures are much better than they was back in the day. I mean, bearing in mind that this wasn't long after the re-release of the original Kenner figures from the 1970s. Well, I say re-released, they were updated and made better than they were from the 70s with better detailing, but this wasn't very long after that, so the technology was pretty much still the same. But even so, it's much better than what it would have been in the 70s, although the likeness of Padme is still not quite right. Although the rest of her seems to be very good. So let's have a look at her outfit. There is the outfit as she wore on episode 1 when she was going to watch or look for the parts for the ship and to watch Anakin do the pod racing. And there to her right is the pod racing view screen, which she was watching when they couldn't actually see the pod racers when they were running through the long canyons, where Anakin did actually manage to win the race, and obviously the rest is history. But there we are. So even though it's not a terrible likeness of Padme, it's still not quite there, but even so, very good figure. Okay, let's get some sizes of the figures. So I mean, we're looking at 10 centimeters, which is the 4-inch figures, with a width of 3 centimeters and a depth of about 2 centimeters. So that's the size of the figure. Now, articulation wise, well, we've got the neck, we've got the tops of the arms that move, the hands don't move at all. The waist does move, as you can see, you've got the articulation there, and I believe the legs move up and down, but there's other than that, there's not much else articulation. So that they are very similar. This particular one I've got in front of me here, this is an original 1970s Kenner Han Solo figure, and you can see how poor the facial features were on these 1970s figures compared to what we have now. I mean, it's 100% better than we had on the original 70s ones, but still not quite right. And obviously the figures of today, they are a little bit better defined as far as the facial features are concerned. Articulation, well, this was pretty much the same. You had the head, the arms, there was no movement on the hands. You had the waist, although this one has no waist movement. You've got the legs that go up and down. Whereas the reissues of these figures in the 90s, this is a Stormtrooper from the same, this was from the Power of the Force series, which was the figures based on the original trilogy being returned to the cinema screen. These are the ones that were released in conjunction with that. So you had the articulation of the head, you had articulation of the arms, again only the top of the arms, but you did have the waist movement, and you've got the legs, and well, that's it, just the legs. But the feet were softer rubber, so that you could move them a little bit. When I say rubber, softer plastic, I should say. But that was the articulation, and this one is the articulation on this figure is pretty much the same as that Stormtrooper figure. Okay, so how well did these figures do back in 1999? Well, they done exceptionally well. Now, obviously, from the last Star Wars film, The Empire Strikes Back, which was 1983, we had nothing then until the movies returned to the screen. We had no new figures. When the three movies were re-digitized and with added scenes and updated special effects, went back to the screens, and there was a whole load of figures that were reissues. I keep saying reissues, but they were new figures, let's say, based on the original figures. And they proved very popular, but they were more or less the same figures that we had before being redone. So when episode 1 came out with a whole new series of figures that we'd never seen before, that was, yeah, fantastic. The popularity of the movie was huge. It was by far the biggest of the Star Wars films to that date. And obviously merchandise, there was merchandise everywhere for episode 1. And obviously the multi different figures were produced. You had all these lines with other gimmicks as well, like the Comm Tech chips was all part of these ones as well, where you could hear the figures talk. So yeah, they sold exceptionally well, and they were huge amounts of figures produced and issued and sold. Okay, let's move forward now 26 years to 2025, which is where we are today. Do these figures come up for sale very often on the platforms nowadays? Well, they do still come up from time to time. Obviously not as frequently as they did. 10 years ago, the internet was flooded with these figures. The platforms, you could find any figure, pretty much any figure, anywhere. They were absolutely flooded with them. Nowadays, not so much. You do see a lot of loose figures available on the platforms. So it depends what you're looking for, really. I mean, if it's mint, unopened figures that you're looking for, then they don't come up as anywhere near as often as they used to. And you do have a tendency to see the same figures over and over again. Probably more so because they were more produced than others. This particular one hardly ever comes up for sale, to be perfectly honest with you. I did have a quick look through the platforms. I think I found only about 3 or 4 of these that had appeared over the last few years, so not very many. And when they came up for sale, they did sell very quickly. So some of the figures far more popular than the others. Some of them a lot more difficult to find, and some a lot of them are available loose. But as I say, it depends what you want. And obviously, do be careful buying on a platform, because some people's idea of very good condition could be other people's idea of acceptable condition. There's a very big scope of differences of opinions there between one and the other. And also, some of the platforms use stock images and stock photographs. So you could be looking at something like this with the description of this. However, when you click buy it now, you could be ordering a used item. As if it doesn't say new on the page and it does say used, click that used link and read what you are about to order. As far as you're concerned, I know you think you're ordering one like this, but you will not. You will be ordering the cheapest used item that is available to order. So do be careful. It happens to so many people. I don't understand why the platform's done things that way, but they did, thinking that people would realise that you're buying used, but when you're not looking at it, you don't know. So there we are. Alternatively, you don't need to go for all that rigmarole. You can come straight to us at Midas Touch Toys, Games and Collectibles, where what you see in front of you is exactly the item you will receive should you wish to order the item. And this particular item is no exception, and as of today, it is available to purchase on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Star Wars items. And many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website, and there will be something for everybody. And I'm absolutely positive this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you're looking for, something old you'd never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories. So stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful vintage Star Wars Episode 1 Padme figure with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.